Are you thinking about making a move down to Austin, Texas, or maybe it's somewhere in one of the Austin suburbs? Maybe you would like the idea of living near Austin, but you don't want to be too close. Guys, you found the right video today. I am in beautiful Blanco, Texas. I'm walking along. I don't know if you can see it here. This is the Blanco River, and even when it's not full, it is absolutely peaceful. It is beautiful, and it's the perfect backdrop to start this video. My name's Chris Pesek. If you don't know me yet, I'm a real estate broker with Pesek Properties. I live in Dripping Springs, Texas, which is just about 30 minutes up the road from Bastrop towards Austin. And what I do in these videos is try to give you exposure to the parts of Texas that you may want to live, even though you don't know it yet. So, welcome to Blanco, Texas, your first trip. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you some of the reasons that I think Blanco is a great place to live. And we are going to talk about also real estate in Blanco. Imagine that. It's a real estate channel. So we're going to talk about that. And at the end of this video, we're going to take a look at what you can buy in different price points in some of the different subdivisions around Blanco. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm just going to keep cruising right now. Usually I'm going to cut to some kind of fancy, like a bumper or something, but I'm not today because I just want you to take in the number one reason that people move to Blanco, and that is the absolute beauty of the Texas Hill Country. Like I said, I'm on the Blanco River here. Normally speaking, last year we had a really bad drought, but normally speaking, this time of year, I would be over waist deep in water. And you, as you can see in Blanco, you can actually, that's my vehicle, you can pull up right next to the river and hang around in the river. There's people fishing right behind me, motorcycle people cruising. This road comes from Blanco, and it goes that way where that gentleman's going. It goes to Lukenbach, and there's a little town up there called Albert where Albert Ice House is, and Albert Ice House is really, really popular right now. Lukenbach, hopefully you've heard of Lukenbach, Texas, with Willie and Waylon and the boys, and everybody's somebody in Lukenbach. And you can continue on to Fredericksburg that way and also to Kerrville. But the reason for number one is the Texas Hill Country beauty. Blanco is right in the middle of it. I mean, and you've got opportunities to get outdoors all over the place here. There's miles and miles of trails all around. You got Blanco River State Park, which is just here in front of me, a little bit closer to Blanco. You've got the Pedernales River in Johnson City. You've got the Guadalupe River south of here that runs through Spring Branch and into Canyon Lake. So you got the Canyon Lake down to the south of here. You got the Highland Lakes to the north. All of that stuff is about a mile's drive, or I'm sorry, about an hour's drive from Blanco. And then if you get out to Fredericksburg, obviously you have Enchanted Rock, which is absolutely amazing. A little bit further drive, Llano, and the Llano River, all of that to the north. So, I mean, I could go on and on and on, but the biggest reason for me why you would want to be in Blanco, Texas, as opposed to Austin with all the hubbub and just the constant going of city, that little bit of slower life and the absolute beauty, that's Blanco, Texas, starting with the Blanco River. All right, let's go take a look at my number two thing, and we'll go ahead and cue that bumper right now. All right, so number two reason you might want to consider Blanco, and another reason I absolutely love this little town, is because it is still a little town. The overflow from Austin and San Antonio has not quite gotten here yet. And to me, that's a very, very important thing. I'm here at the courthouse. This is the Blanco County Courthouse. I'm right here on the square walking around. And when I think of Blanco, it's just kind of in its infancy stages still. You can see there's a bunch of little old shops over here. Redbud Cafe, absolutely amazing food, by the way. You've got to go eat at the Redbud. But I'm just going to cruise around the courtyard here, or the courthouse, and talk a little bit about, Blanco and what I remember about Blanco and kind of what it is now. So, like I said, it's a really, really small town. It's stuck out here kind of in the middle of nowhere in the grand scheme of things. It's north of San Antonio by about an hour. It's west of Austin by about an hour. And so it has been historically more of a pass-through town for most people going to Fredericksburg, or, if you're in Austin going down to San Antonio down 281. It's right here on Highway 281. And so it just really was overlooked for a long time. And I'm walking right towards an antique store. And I was going to say, one of the things about Blanco with its small town feel is when I was a kid growing up, Fredericksburg actually used to have antiques. Now I just say, it's not junk shops like you would think. It's just full of crap. And the shops you go, it's all stuff produced in China, things like that. The Fredericksburg that I grew up with no longer exists, but Blanco feels a lot like the Fredericksburg that I grew up with. You actually have antique stores here. You can go in and find old Texas antiques. Blanco County, this area was kind of founded by cattlemen and their families, and there were a lot of wars with the Apache Indians out here and stuff like that. And you can find some of that historical significance here too. It's not covered up and whitewashed at this point with a bunch of wineries and things like that. And that sounds like I'm hating on Fredericksburg. I am not hating on Fredericksburg by any means. I'm just letting you know that Blanco is still a little bit of what old small hill country towns were. Now, is it growing up? Yes. The high school here is now a 3A high school, which in the grand scheme of things is still pretty small. But about 6 years ago, I think it was still a 1A. So Blanco is growing. And there's new subdivisions. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit, what those subdivisions are and what you can get here, if you want to move here. But it's still a small town. What are the reasons that it's growing? Well, one, it's a small town. People are attracted to this lifestyle. Especially during COVID, a lot of people left Austin. They did not want to be in that environment anymore. They wanted a little bit more of a friendly environment. People telling them hi when they go to coffee and people knowing their names, when you go into the local antique stores or things like that. So, from that perspective, that's what's causing it to grow a little bit. Going back to that small town historical feel, you still have small town festivals. They've got a lavender festival here. It's not all that old, but it's not really like this giant festival like you find in Georgetown, or it's dang sure not ACL or anything like that you're going to find in Austin. But it's more of that small town festival. So just from an overall perspective, if you're thinking that, you want to be somewhere with proximity to Austin, but you don't want that crowded feel, or maybe you want your kids in smaller schools, smaller classrooms, smaller number of kids in the classrooms and with teachers that actually live in the city. Okay, well, you have a few options out here, very few. You have Wimberley, and I've done videos on Wimberley, and you have Blanco and Johnson City. I'm gonna do Johnson City in another video. It's a different town, about 30 minutes north of here, maybe 20 minutes north. But Blanco is one of those that fits squarely in that hole for getting that small town feel, a little bit slower pace of life, the friendlier, kind of the old school Texas that people like to think of when they think about the Texas Hill Country. So that is the second reason here that you might want to consider Blanco, and that's that small town feel. All right, third reason you might want to consider Blanco, and that is its location is ideal. Again, you've got to want to be in a smaller town to be here. But if you want to be in a smaller town with access to two of the major metropolitan areas in Texas, Blanco is an ideal spot. And if you notice here, I'm walking in, this is little city park. Butterflies are everywhere out in here. The city park is beautiful. It's small, like everything in Blanco, but it's absolutely beautiful here. But proximity to major cities is the number 3 thing. Austin, okay? Austin is roughly an hour due east of us here, and that's, downtown or the airport. So you have all of the conveniences, whether it's, nightlife, restaurants, whatever, it's within an hour, hospitals and things like that within an hour, airport, international airport, and being able to go pretty much anywhere you want in the world from Austin is about an hour away. And then you go the other direction, you go south, and you've got San Antonio, a giant city at this point. And really, one of my wife's and my favorite getaways is San Antonio. You got everything with the Riverwalk, the Alamo, all the new things that are going on in the Pearl District and Southtown and things like that. But San Antonio is also adding a lot of industry. And by the way, San Antonio has another international airport on the northwest side of town, which 281 goes right by. It's about 45 minutes from here. So if you, and not only that, I mentioned the hospitals in Austin, but if you think about the hospitals in San Antonio, you have all the military bases, you have a lot of VA hospitals down there. So if you need VA hospitals and things like that, you have San Antonio an hour away. So if you're, again, looking for a small town, but you need access to cities and airports and things like that because of your travel, Blanco is ideally situated almost exactly halfway between Austin and San Antonio. Where is it in relation to the other cities in Texas? Well, we're about 4 hours south of Dallas-Fort Worth, and we're probably about 4 hours west of Houston, roughly speaking, depending on traffic. So DFW and Houston are a little bit farther away, but Austin and San Antonio have absolutely everything that you need. So there's, unless you're going to see family or something like that in DFW, Houston, there's not a whole lot of reason to go out there, in my opinion, but they do have some pretty good food as well. All right, guys, that's number 3. Proximity to other major areas. Now, if this is the kind of content that you're wanting, and if you're with me this far into the video, it is, click that subscribe button. I do content like this all the time. All right, number 4 on this little tour of Blanco, Texas is Blanco's got an economy that's starting to kind of thrive a little bit. And if you're looking for that, if you're looking kind of for an entry point, maybe it's for a small business or something like that, this could be a really good match for you. Now, I'm here now at what I consider probably the business that started Blanco booming maybe 10 or 15 years ago. This is Real Ale Brewing. Real Ale has been around, like I said, here for a long time now, and this is their new facility and a really nice outdoor area. They've got a stage over here and things, and they've also recently expanded into Real Spirits, which is they distill their leftover from the brewing process, and that started right about COVID, just before COVID, late 2019, from what I understand. But Real Ale kind of took a shot because at that point there was nothing really out here from a large corporation, and they were far from large. They were a microbrewery at the time. But one thing that the Texas Hill Country is known for is it's a place to go out, relax, and go have some beer, go have some wine, go have some whiskey. And now, we've got Real Ale, we've got Real Spirits, we've got Andalusia, which is a distillery just up the road, 281 between here and Johnson City. Milam and Green has really good bourbon. They've now started distilling here. Then you go south, and it's not technically Blanco, but Rebecca Creek Distillery, and then everything out towards Fredericksburg. So that part of this economy is starting to grow. And I mentioned earlier about, what's going on downtown around the square and the little small shops and the antique shops and the restaurants and things like that. But also other people are starting their own thing. Rio Bianco is, it's ice cream. Well, I call it ice cream because I grew up in a little town, right? I think technically it is gelato. It's an Italian creamery down here. Absolutely phenomenal, phenomenal ice cream. I'm going to keep calling it ice cream because that's what I do. But anyway, the number of small businesses that are coming in just keeps going up. And they always say that industry follows rooftops, right? You're going to have the more people move out here, the more need you're going to have for those types of things, for your distilleries and your restaurants and your hotels and your Airbnbs and things like that. So as Blanco continues to grow, there's going to be more and more need for that economy. So this economy is going to continue to grow. Now, it's not going to blow up necessarily, but it's going to continue to grow. And I walked up on the stage so I could show you what the Real Ale labels look like. But anyway, that is the fourth thing that I think is going to be a big thing for Blanco moving forward. And that's this economy and what happens to it moving forward. So I think there's a lot of opportunity out here. We're going to talk about affordability and things like that in one of the later segments. So stick around for that. But if you kind of pull all that together, you can understand why there's at least small businesses that are wanting to move out here. And the more small businesses that come out here, the more big businesses that are going to want to come. Now, Notice a couple of things that I did not mention about the local economy. I did not talk about things like Starbucks. I did not talk about things like Target, Walmart, stuff like that. You're not going to find them here. Thank God. This is still a small Texas town. Starbucks, stay the hell out. Don't ruin Blanco like you've done everywhere else. Sorry, Starbucks has a time and a place. It's just not Blanco, Texas, at least in my humble opinion. But there you go. Number 4 reason why Blanco may be a pretty good option for you is this little economy is starting to blow up. All right, let's go check out number 5. This could not be better. I was actually going to a spot that I wanted to talk about this number 5 point about why you might want to choose Blanco, Texas. And it literally is taking me forever to get there. And I said, you know what? There is no better way to get this point across than to shoot this in the Jeep. So the number 5 reason you might want to consider Blanco is that it's a slower pace of life. And like I said, I'm following a gentleman who is probably heading to the feed store, and we're driving 20 miles an hour with the Blanco River to my right. And that's just what Blanco does to you. I mentioned before, this is not Austin. This is not San Antonio. I've got 4 cars in a line behind me. I've got 3 cars in front of me, and it is forcing me to slow down. It doesn't do me a bit of good to get frustrated, to get upset. This is what Blanco is. It's a lot like where I grew up in Shiner, where if you're not on a 4-lane highway, and they don't exist around here, I guess 281's 4 lanes in some spots, but you're going to be forced to slow down. If that's what you're looking for in your lifestyle, this is probably a pretty good place to move. I mentioned you're not going to be looking at Starbucks and Walmart and Target and stuff like that. This is still a quintessential Texas hill country town, small school, although I drove by and they're expanding it. So, that's something. But when you go to the cafes, don't expect the fastest service in the world. I'm sure that there's a bunch of high school kids who are doing their best to get your food out, but it's not going to be fast. When you're driving on a road trying to get somewhere, leave 10 minutes early, because you're going to end up behind a gentleman or a woman that's lived here for 50 or 60 years, and they're not in a hurry, because this is what life is for them. So reason number 5, not going to belabor the point. If you're looking for a little bit slower pace of life, Blanco might be right up your alley. And even if you're not looking for a slower pace of life, it may be forced on you, and I don't think that's a bad thing. All right, and number 6, the reasons you might want to choose Blanco, Texas for your new home is housing affordability. I told you I'm a real estate broker. There's always going to be something about real estate in these videos, but relative affordability in Blanco is really good. And I'm going to kind of give you a view of this lake behind me here. I'm in Rockin' J Ranch. Now, this is a golf course community, beautiful 18-hole golf course. Community is about 1,000 acres. And when I say relative affordability, I don't know where else you can buy in a golf course community that actually is a part of your HOA fees. In addition to there's a grill here, there is a swimming pool. You've got a couple of stocked lakes that you can fish in. In fact, there's people fishing behind me right now over here behind the golf club. But as a part of your HOA, there's actually a round or two of golf that's included every month that it just comes with your HOA fee. So affordability is a thing, and I say relative because when you start getting out to the Texas Hill Country, things get really, really expensive. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you on a tour of, not really a tour of 3 communities, but I'm going to show you 3 houses in 3 different communities and give you an idea of what your money can buy you. So let's start first with Rockin' J Ranch, since we're sitting here. What you're going to find here, for the most part, is 1/4 acre to 3/4 acre lots. So you're going to have some room. This was the original houses in here were built in the early 2000s, but there's still lots you can buy and you can build your own house. You can have a custom home built. There are still spec homes available in here. I'm going to show you one of those today. And that spec home I'm going to show you is a little over 1,800 square feet. And that thing is priced under $450,000. So when you're talking about the Texas Hill Country, close to Blanco, we're about 3 or 4 miles south of Blanco, just outside of the city limits here. Under $450,000 for a brand new home. Yes, Blanco, Texas affordability is a real thing. Let's go take a look at this first house. All right, so like I mentioned, we're still here in Rockin' J, this house. Now, in Blanco, you can find houses under $300,000 still. You're more than likely going to have to do some renovating. They're going to be older. So that's the reason I'm not necessarily showing you those. And those are going to be in and around downtown. What I'm showing you here is a brand new build in Rockin' J. Rockin' J's got a HOA of about $330 quarterly and tax rate of 1.67. So really cheap tax rate as well when you compare it to places closer to Austin. But this house, like I mentioned, is about 1,800 square feet, 1,837, I believe, is the square footage, listed at $429,000. So $233 a square foot for a brand new construction home. And I'm going to just kind of show it to you here behind me. Now you're going to see very typical for this kind of price point in the hill country. Okay, you're going to have a little bit of stone on it. You're going to have a lot of hardy panel. But a couple of things that you are going to have here is you're going to have 3-dimensional shingle. That is an upgrade over a 3-tab shingle that you're going to see in lower price points in places like Seatle Springs and Kyle and Buda. So that's a nice upgrade. This house is really, really nice inside. It's a 3-bed. It is only a 1-bathroom. So that's one of the reasons for the lower price point. Again, $429. It is only a 1-bathroom. But this thing is on a 1/4-acre cul-de-sac lot. Where else are you going to find that for $233 a foot? So again, when you're coming out to Blanco, overall affordability is a real thing. In Rockin' J, you're going to find houses from about 1,500 square foot up to about 4,000 square feet. And price points are going to be low 400s like we have here, up to and beyond $1 million, depending, especially some of the ones that back up to the lake and back to the golf course and things like that. But again, reason number 6, this is the first example, overall affordability. Now, let's go check out the second house, second price point. We're going to another neighborhood called Seatle Springs. All right, let's go take a look at that one. All right, stop number 2, just to give you an idea. This is a different community. This is called Seatle Springs. Just like Rockin' J, it is gated. Got a couple of different parts to this. Tax rates go anywhere from 1.3 to about 2.3. Really, really nice views. God, there's amazing views out here. But the biggest thing about this community is that it's on large lots. For the most part, you're between 2 acres and 10 acres out here. You can have horses. You can also have barns and facilities like that for storing RVs and stuff like that. So a lot of times you can't find that on smaller acreage, but in a place like Seatle Springs Ranch, you can. And we're just on the south side of Blanco right now. So the house I'm going to show you is right here behind me. Listed at $900,000. So again, what are you getting for $900,000? Well, here you're getting 2 acres. You're getting 2,500 square feet. It's a 3-bed, 2 full baths, 2 half baths, but there's also a guest house involved. This house was built in 2021. So it's a pretty recent build and is really, really nicely finished out. So, you know, when you're talking about what you can get, okay, 2,500 square feet, that's $361 a foot. As you get back closer into Austin, something like this is really going to be closer to about $400 a foot. So again, even though you're in a gated community, estate-sized lots, really large lots, you can get a lot more for your money out here an hour outside of Austin. And going back into the community itself, there are opportunities for you to still buy land. There are lots available in here, anywhere from 2, again, up to about 8 acres, I think is the largest one that I saw that's available. And you can do custom home builds. You can get somebody that does a build on your lot, kind of like a Tilson. So it's a semi-custom. So there are a lot of opportunities in here. And these houses, there's some that are under construction right now, some that were built back in the early 2000s as well. And again, for the price point, Wow, Seatle Springs Ranch, another great opportunity. But now let's go take a look at something just a little bit different. Now, I told you that I had an interesting one for you for last. And, I've been talking about affordability out here at Blanco. And affordability's got a bunch of different price points. I am in Ranches of Brushy Top, which is a very exclusive gated subdivision north on 281 between Blanco and Johnson City. And as I'm walking behind, you can kind of see this hill behind me. And the house that I'm going to talk about is way up on that hill. And that's one of the things that Brushy Top is known for. It's known for massive views. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of turn around here and give you a glimpse as to what I'm talking about. So this is the part of the hill country that people think of when they talk about the hill country. Hopefully you can see the giant hills there behind me. And that's kind of indicative of the terrain north of Blanco, between Blanco and Johnson City, and then up into Orlando. But Brushy Top itself is 2,000 acres. And the cool thing about it is a game preserve. It's high fenced all the way around. And there are several different African mammal variety goat things. I don't even know what they all are. There's black bucks. There's white-tailed deer. Obviously, there's native Texas stuff like turkey and armadillo and fox and cougars and bobcats and rattlesnakes and all the things, right? But the other cool thing is, if you're lucky when you're out here, there is a huge herd of elk, and I'm talking massive antlers on these elk. So Brushy Top is a really cool place. The house that I'm talking about, and you can take a look at a few different parts of it here, but it's like everything else out here in Brushy Top. 3,200, a little over 3,200 square feet, custom built up on a hill with massive views, 3-bed, 3.5 bath. But the thing that you move to Brushy Top for, in addition to all the wildlife and the stocked lakes and all of that, is it's on 23 acres. Most of the lots out here are over 20 acres. So you have your own little piece of just absolute heaven out here. And the tax rates are really low because it's got a agriculture or a wildlife exemption on the taxes. So the taxes out here stay really low. So when you see that $2.2 million price tag on this home, well, you can rest assured that you're not you're not going to be paying $40,000 a year like a lot of people with $2.5 million homes. And again, affordability. What would you get in Austin, Texas for $2.2 million? Well, you may get a bigger house, but I can guarantee you're not getting 23 acres. You're not getting elk roaming through your backyard. You're not getting views like this off of your back porch. So that's what Ranches of Brushy Top is all about. And again, affordability is a thing. Even though it has all different price points in affordability, that's what you're getting out here in Ranches of Brushy Top for $2.2 million. And guys, that's Blanco. I gave you 6 reasons, including affordability, that I think it's a place you should personally think about living if you're not wanting the actual hustle and bustle of a major metropolitan area. And if you're thinking about moving out here, or if you're thinking about selling your house, if you're living out here in Blanco now and you want to sell, give me a call. Would love to help you out. Would love to make your move just as absolutely smooth as possible. All right, we'll see you on the next video.